loves, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner, and today I'm going to be recommending you some of my favorite nonfiction books. So I feel like everybody is always looking to try and incorporate more nonfiction into the genres that they gravitate towards. And I feel like that's a lot of people's like New Year's goals when it comes to reading. So I decided I would share some of my favorite nonfiction books in hopes that maybe some of them will spark a little bit of interest for you. So how this video is going to work, I'll be recommending several different books, and I've broken them down into like the subgenres or the subcategories that are kind of under that umbrella term nonfiction. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of my books I have lent to my sister to read, so I don't have necessarily a lot of the physical copies, but I will put a picture up on the screen to kind of show you what that book exactly looks like, and I'll just give you a brief summary of what that book is about. So let's get started. Okay, so the first category is nonfiction that are historical based. So the first one I'm going to be recommending to you is The Port Chicago 50 Disaster, Mutiny, and the Fight for Civil Rights by Steve Shinikin. I probably pronounced that wrong. I apologize. This story does not read like a nonfiction story. It was so intriguing. I did a lot of tabbing. I don't typically tab when I read, but it has caught my interest right off the bat. It takes place in World War II. There was a explosion in Port Chicago that killed like 320 servicemen, and it ended up being something that happened, like a faulty thing. They weren't trained well enough, and any of the African Americans that were working at that port, they forced them to continue working in unsafe conditions, and over 200 of them refused to continue working until things were dealt with in safe conditions. I learned so much about what it was like for African Americans in World War II that I had no idea was even an issue. I didn't know anything about this, and so even they never taught it in school. So this was super, super interesting. It was a learning experience. It was eye-opening. It was sad at many times. It also has like pictures and images, which is really nice. And it also has like little like some multimedia things, and it has like their like signatures of things, like their petitions that they signed. So this is a really good quick read, and it gives you a lot of insight of what it was like to be an African American working at the Port Chicago during World War II. So my next recommendation I feel like is one that probably a lot of people have already read, but it is The Diary of Anne Frank. This book is heartbreaking, but it is amazing at the same time. I've read this so many times. If you're not familiar with Anne Frank's story, it is about a young girl who is during World War II as well, and she has to go into hiding because she is Jewish, and they are looking to capture all the concentration camps. So this is the story of Anne Frank, who kept her journal while she was in hiding, and it really goes into detail of what it was like for her living during this time. Again, super eye-opening, and I feel like it's a book that everyone should read. I know a lot of people have it like on their school curriculums that they read it, but I feel like if you don't, it's a book that you definitely need to pick up. Again, it's nonfiction, but doesn't read like nonfiction. I think you'll see a pattern of books like that, but I definitely would recommend Anne Frank's Diary. All right, the next one is Night by Eli Wiesel. This is again another World War II story. You'll probably see a pattern here. I really enjoy World War II nonfiction. This again is a story about a man who was taken to the camps, and he actually did survive, and he is telling his story of what life was like in the concentration camps. So again, definitely lots of trigger warnings for this book. It is heartbreaking and awful and everything under the sun, but again, I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a little bit more information about World War II, if you want a moving story, but also in a guy who has been able to overcome all of the hardships that he has dealt with in his life. Okay, so the next one I'm going to recommend is the categories of memoirs. So memoirs is like, again, about a specific person's life. So I have 3 recommendations for this one. The first one is Full Circle by Andrea Barber. You may remember her as Kimmy Gibbler from Full House. She wrote this amazing memoir, and I think it's perfect if you've ever been a Full House or Fuller House fan. but I think there's a lot more to the story about life in general, and just learning to be what it's like to be a young person growing up in the industry and with the challenges and the hardships and trying to navigate that and trying to be a normal person, like normal kid, as well as being super famous at the same time. And again, obviously if you're a Full House fan, it gives a lot of inside details into the filming of Full House and some of the other characters, so it was really fun just to read it for that aspect. But other than that, it also is just really well written, and I like Andrea Barber. She interacts with her fans. When I first read this book, I actually tweeted about it and she tweeted back or on Instagram, which was so cool. So just the fact that she's seems like a good person makes this book even better. The next book is called Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. Again, you may recognize her. She plays Lorelai Gilmore on The Gilmore Girls. If you are not new to my channel, you know that I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan. So obviously I had to read this book when it first came out. And I don't think you need to be just a Gilmore Girls fan or a Parenthood fan to really like this book. She definitely talks about some hardships that she's dealt with in her life, the ups and downs of being in a spotlight type lifestyle. But again, if you are a Gilmore Girls fan, I would highly recommend it because it is, again, it gives some inside scoop to the show. It was like filming the show, and it was just, I really enjoyed it, and it read like how I would imagine Lauren Graham's personality is. It's funny, it's witty, and it was just such a fun, really fun, exciting read. The next one is the book A Long Way Gone. And this book, I can't think of the author's name, but it'll be on the title, which I should because I actually went and watched him speak at my college when I was in college, and he said my book. But this, if you're looking for a heart-wrenching story that will probably make you cry, I would recommend this book. It is about the boy soldiers that were in Africa. Our young author, he was taken from his village and he was trained to be a boy soldier, and his story of what it was like to be a boy soldier, as well as trying to then acclimate back to reality and real life after he was trained to kill all these people, and the fact that he was such a young boy and innocent at the time, and how he didn't want to do it, but he had to if he wanted to survive, and the struggles of then trying to acclimate back into civilization. This story is so heartrending, but it is so eye-opening and so good. I highly recommend it to anyone that's looking for like a really heart-wrenching nonfiction book. Okay, my last one, and it might be my favorite one on here, and it falls into a category of true crime, and it's called The 57 Bus. I believe it's YA. Reads nothing like nonfiction, but it is nonfiction. So this is a story. We have, there's two guys and they are on a bus and they're goofing around, and then they see someone else that's sitting on the bus, and the other female on the bus identifies as transgender, and the boys start picking on her, and one of the guys has a lighter and is fooling around with it and then catches that person on fire. So then this story follows dual perspectives of the victim of the crime and the one that was charged with the crime. He's not the one that necessarily used the lighter, but he took the blame from his friend, and it is this, I don't know what just fell in my house, but sidetracked, sorry guys. And it follows their story of him going through the juvie court as a black male, and as well as the victim and the process of kind of going through what she went through, as well as kind of coming to terms and eventually, accepting an apology from the boy who was partaking in the crime. And it's heartbreaking, and it's really eye-opening to the juvenile system and how sometimes there are some flaws in it, and when the one who didn't partake, other people that partake in the crime don't get in trouble, and it's just really, really good. And I feel like I'm explaining it so poorly, but I really highly recommend it to everyone, and it does not read like nonfiction. So if you're someone that wants to get into more nonfiction but does not really know where to start or not sure they're gonna like it, I would highly recommend this book because it does not read like one. So these are some of my favorite nonfiction books. Please let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these. I also am always looking for more nonfiction reads, so please drop any suggestions down in the comments below. So if you want to take this journey with me, please press that subscribe button. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you never want to miss any of my content, press that notification bell. If you want to be my friend on any other social media platforms, all of that information is down below. So stay kind, loves, and I'll see you next time. Bye.